Hi there everybody, thanks for asking. Yes, they are new glasses. Roll intro. So hello, welcome to Behind the Weebs, a look behind the scenes of the ring of SunnyCon Anime Expo, anime convention based in the United Kingdom. I'm Tucky, ambassador for the event, and I'm here with another episode of Behind the Weebs. And today we're looking at the top 10 myths of running a convention. Now this can not just be anime convention, this can be any convention in general, and it is taken from my own personal experiences. Of course, if you run your own event, differences will be along the way, but this is just a look at what for SunnyCon Anime Expo, the myths around it, and a few things that people have presumptions of how to run a convention and what's needed to run a convention. And I'm here just to say if they're true or not. So let's get cracking. So this myth was one that I got started with when I first decided, you know what, I'll run an anime convention in Sunderland. I was sent a label, and I don't know if I've got the label, I'll just put it on the screen there. But basically, somebody sent me so you think you can run an anime convention, and they sent me a list of things that was needed. And when I say things, I mean like people, like a team. Like you'll need a chair, a vice chair, treasurer, other things, and it's just like this long list of people that were needed. And to one extent, yes, you need a stable team around you. But if you're just starting a convention, it's not necessarily needed. Like you could do it just by yourself if you had the funds, especially. However, for us, we were sent a thing like I say, this shopping list of like you need all these people to make a anime convention run. And for us, it was more of we looked at that list and was like, no, who are you, random person on the internet making lists? And from there, our core team actually started off with just four of us. Obviously, it's expanded out now to look more like the list that we were sent. However, when we started, we only started with a core team of four. So the first myth is like you need a crack team of professionals around you. And to one part, yes, that might be true. But if you're just starting out, you know, who's to tell you what you and your event should be like? Our next myth is it's easy as fudge to run a convention. This is something that's naively said, mostly by people who have not lived through what running a convention is. But it's something that I kind of get a lot. Over the years of running conventions, we get approached a lot by people who want to run their own events, either for market research or just if they want to steal ideas. And what we usually get is this feeling that they think it's all going to be plain sailing, easy swimming. You know, I have a venue, I have a traders hall, everyone will come. And it's not that simple at all. There are so many layers to organising an event. Some people do it, I think they can do it within a month, when really you should be like 6 to 12 months to run a convention. Others just think like, well, you know, they can do it, I can do it. It's as simple as that. And the amount of conventions that have popped up, especially in the Northeast alone, I believe, like at last count, there was over 200 events over the last decade alone that have just popped up and disappeared. And it's not as simple as, well, I've got a venue, I have a traders hall, you know, we'll stick a cosplay contest on, bang, you've got a convention. It's a lot more complex than that. I could easily get into and I could easily like dissect what you need in every single layer of organising the convention, but I'll not bore you this time. Just know that this whole myth of like it's easy to run a convention, it's not. And if you've got that one friend you're at a convention at and they look around like, well, I could run this, slap them in the face, because that naivety ends up getting people hurt. The next myth is a really fun one, and that is that running a convention makes you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. Let me tell you, that's not true. Unless you have a lot of money and a lot of capital to start with, no chance you're making a profit within the first 5 years. It takes a lot to build a convention. A convention isn't just a traders hall, maybe a cosplay contest. There's a lot of money that needs to go into it. You need to pay for venues, guests, tables, chairs, and that's just like the things that you can see. There's other things such as insurance, like your petty cash, what you need, maybe if you want to invest in merchandising. There's a lot of money that needs to be put into a convention, and we're looking at nearly a decade down the line, and we're only just seeing slim profits here and there in different sections, and that's for a convention our size. So if you go into a convention, know that it will take a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time, and unless you're like already minted, there's very little money to be made in conventions. And I think that's prevalent more today than ever, with the marketplace so oversaturated. Like there's a convention, there's like 4 or 5 conventions every single week within the UK. There's no off season anymore. You know, conventions used to end at the end of October, and then they will come back around about end of February, beginning of March. That's not the case anymore. Conventions are an all year round thing, and trying to put yourself into that oversaturated marketplace as it is. And we've already seen a few conventions now actually dropping off, and some of the bigger names are starting to cancel their second events. So the marketplace is so tough right now. And if you're looking to make money from a convention, you're probably doing it for the wrong reasons, because a convention's more a community than an event and a business. You've still got to take into consideration the business side of it, but the majority of it, if you want to have a successful money-making event, you've got to put the effort in, you've got to put the time in, and you must be very patient. The next myth is that, especially if you're running a geek event, that all your core audience are virgins and outcasts. This is one of those societal things that I think people have, they're kind of growing out of it. Saying that about, actually it was SunnyCon 2017, somebody decided to put in a joke old volunteer form and then decided to call me a virgin, which was quite funny. I don't know how to explain that to me 2 kids and wife, but apparently I'm a virgin. And that kind of perception is still around. Actually, a lot of people still think, oh, geek conventions, look at them dressing up. They'll not get girlfriends or boyfriends. When in reality, from my personal experience of the convention scene, most of our attendees are quite unique. Some are very sexed up. So the whole virgin tags like belongs back in the 70s or 80s or whenever that became like popular. But your core market is a much more diverse, much more grounded like audience. Like I say in the previous point, it is a community. There are so many peoples and so many different genres and interests that you have to now promote to, and trying to get that balance is one part of running a successful convention. But to go into it with the whole they're all virgins and social outcasts, it's very dated, and to be honest, it's kind of simian like. And anybody with that kind of attitude in this day and age, they need a little bit of education on it, in my opinion. But that's one of the myths. They're not all virgins and outcasts, I can tell you that now. So another one of these myths that we have is that people think that volunteering or press passes is just like a free ticket to the event. Whereas, yes, you get free entry to the event, but you will be put to work. That's one of the things of volunteering. We rely on volunteers. They do so much hard work throughout the whole weekend of SunnyCon. It's ridiculous. Anything from stage management to panel rooms, set up, set down, guests, running the merch table, cloakroom, all the other amenities, to just generally keeping the area tidy. There's a lot of hard work that goes into volunteering. And if you have the attitude of, I'm going to just say I'm volunteering, I'll get in, I'll get my wristband, I'll just like slack off, it's not going to work, because it's detrimental to us and it's detrimental to the attendees, and the overall con experience will be degraded for attendees, and we will remember that. And the same can be said about press passes as well. If you're intending to abuse the system, then it's not going to work out well, because we will remember you and we will remember what you've done. Hard work and volunteering for SunnyCon can get you good things. Some of our current staff were volunteers at first, and now they're on the staff and they get to know all the guests and all the insides and outs, and we've got a good team set up. But like I say, the whole myth of, oh, you can volunteer and it's a free ticket, it's not. Please don't abuse the system. We need volunteers. We need people who are willing to work hard. If you want to attend the event as just an attendee, just buy a ticket. Another myth that we have is that convention organisers can set the guest prices. To a certain extent, this could be correct, depending on the agreement that's made with the convention and the guest. However, the majority of the time, in our experience, the guest sets their own prices. We can advise and say, like, well, we think it might be too high and that people might not like go for it, or they can just be like, well, we're having X set price and we're just sticking to it. Because some of the conventions, like, people come in, like, we always have the rule that you get your first signing for free. That's contracted in. That's why we pay a fee outright, and it's one of those things. Why go to an event and then have to pay more money on top of it just to get the guest to sign something? One of the things is you should be able to get something signed, or even a selfie at the table. You know, things like that. And one of the misconceptions and myths around this is that the convention are just greedy and they're going to charge like X hundreds of pounds to get a signing from a certain celebrity, when that's not such the case. In the majority of cases, the guest set, and the amount of flack that we as organisers can get for a certain price being a certain way, it's a weird one, because, like, yes, we have this guest here, they're charging X amount, but it's not us. We as organisers aren't influenced on that. That's down to the guest personally. How much could they be getting paid if they were doing work at the time? So lots of things to take into consideration, but the majority of the time, organisers do not set guest prices for photos, signatures, and all of that, etc. One of my favourite myths is that apparently, if you run an anime convention, all organisers of conventions are big, fat, sweaty neckbeards. So this is another one of those, like, societal misconceptions that if you're a weeb, you know, you've got the fedora, the neckbeard, the glasses, the the sweat, the BO that goes with it. All of that misconception now, it's not the case. Organisers are varied and many. Yes, I believe the majority of them are still male, but the world's changing. Obviously, my boss is Donna, so we're getting there. And I think this whole thing of, oh, you're an anime convention, you know, you must be some kind of weirdo with some kind of dark past. Not all of us have some, like, kind of dark past. Yes, we will be held up to higher scrutiny. Yes, we will get doxxed. That's part and parcel of it, unfortunately. If you put yourself up there, people will try to knock you down. And if you've got any skeletons in the closet, try not to get them found. That's one of the things with the organisation side of a convention. You will upset people along the way. You're not doing your job right if you're not upsetting people. That's just part and parcel of it. You can't please everybody. There's people who come to SunnyCon who don't like me, and I don't like them, but still allow them to go. Eh?
You suck.
Oh, you suck too. But it's Donna just behind the camera. But like I say, the SunnyCon is a more inclusive, like, organisation now. I think over half of our staff members are actually female. It's something we don't trump on about, because who gives a toss what gender you are? It's nobody's business but your own, and it shouldn't affect your work or your work ethic or how you do your job. I think there's a lot that's placed on these things, and whereas an evolution of the human psyche and understanding of what things are these days compared to what they used to be, it has no bearing on how well we can provide the best convention to the best of our abilities. And this whole, like I said, it's a stereotype. We're not all fat neckbeards. I think I'm the only fat neckbeard with a sweat problem in the convention committee. So 1 in 10 now. I'm becoming the minority. But it's one of those myths that keeps coming up. Oh, you run a convention. Where's your fedora, your neckbeard? So hopefully times will change, but it's definitely not the case in this day and age. The next myth is some individuals who attend our events feel that we can tailor to their individual needs. This is not the case. We have to look at it from the business perspective. We have to attract thousands and thousands of people. That's our goal. Like, we next year we want to attract about 10,000 attendees over the weekend. and we've got to cater to every single one of their tastes. Obviously, we can't do that. We can't pick out one individual and go, right, you like this voice actor, so we'll get these in just for you. You know, we'll put this on just for you and that on. We can't do that. We can't wipe your backside as much as it would be offered, but we can't do that. We have to think of the broader scale and what will sell tickets. So when people say like, oh, you didn't get this voice actor and I've like pestered you for them, you know, we can't really cater to you. Just because you ask it repeatedly doesn't mean that we can just cater just to you. We've got to look at the bigger picture and how we can attract like all these thousands of people who would enjoy, and the majority will enjoy, what we put on. So we've got to think of it about that like logically. It can seem a bit stubborn if you are one of those people who are like, oh, they didn't cater to just me and I hate the convention because of this. All I can say is we're sorry. We have to cater to thousands of people. We can't pick out one individual, and no event can unless you're putting the money into it yourself and you're funding it all yourself. There's very little sway you'll have over like a whole committee who've got to cater to thousands of people. So we're sorry if it doesn't all go your way, but we try to make it that the majority of it is something that you can enjoy. There's this myth now about this is more for organisers, and if you're there's different structures in conventions and events, and say if you're running like a small get together 1 day event, then this doesn't really apply. But for us, when I'm a big complainer, I complain a lot about being impoverished. I annoy myself at times, so I can't imagine what I do to my friends and close relatives. But I do like a good whinge, and one of the things that I get coming back is, well, why don't you just do a job alongside SunnyCon? Yes, SunnyCon is just a 3 day event in Newcastle every year. Sometimes if we do other events, a day or two here and there. But most people only see it as that, and then I get the whole, well, why don't you get a part-time job, or why don't you get a full-time job to supplement it? And one of the misconceptions and myths around it is that run a convention isn't a full-time job. It is. I spend God knows how many hours a week thinking about SunnyCon. Like, SunnyCon is the only thing that's on our minds. Finances, planning, preparations, future ideas, promotions, everything takes a lot of time, and there's like a team of 11 of us to do it. Obviously the wider team, they've got their own lives outside of SunnyCon, because for them it is just a 3 day event a year. But for us, like in the thick of it at the top, we have to put a lot of effort into it. I mean, just today I'm looking at things like growing our Twitch channel, growing our YouTube channel, which this is part of. Other things, growing on social media, putting up adverts, trying to sell tickets, like premium tickets, board party tickets, after party tickets, looking into guests, negotiating contracts with them all over the year. And it's approximately a 52-hour job a week. And the issue with that is, obviously, I don't get any money until tickets start selling, because tickets are the only income revenue, or sponsorship if we're lucky enough to get that. And this whole thing of like, oh, well, you can do a job alongside running a convention. You can't. If you start a convention, you've got to put in the sacrifice, like I've already said. You've got to put in the hours, I've already said as well. And this is the thing. Most people go into it thinking, well, I could just run a job alongside it. I was that naive. I was that person at the beginning of SunnyCon. I had my own merchandise shop, Tucky's Anime. I sold anime stuff, so I had a little bit of experience behind it. But as the convention grew from the first year, it became more and more apparent that I can't run a business alongside this. I could not run Tucky's Anime alongside SunnyCon. By the time SunnyCon 2 rolled around, after SunnyCon 2, it was made apparent that I had to choose one. I had to either, Tucky's Anime had to be sacrificed for SunnyCon, or SunnyCon would have had to have been sacrificed for Tucky's Anime to grow. And I made the decision to let SunnyCon grow because it had the most potential. Because, you know, merchandise and that, there's loads of shops out there. Conventions, there wasn't many back then, so I thought I'd capitalise on it and grow from there. And there's always this myth like, well, it's only like 3 or 4 days a year, you know, you can have a job alongside it. It's not. It's a full-time job. constantly. Even I'd even go so far as to say, even if you're running like a 1 day event, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And if you can run a job alongside it, then you're probably sacrificing something that the event would need further down the line. So if you are going to start up a convention, take a lot of effort, take a lot of patience, and look into it properly, because it will take over your life. And unless you can get another source of income going, or you believe that you can push ticket sales that hard initially, then it's going to be an uphill struggle. So the final myth, and possibly the biggest one, is that organisers don't care. I've seen this a lot. People think we just put on the event, we'll take your money, and we'll go away and spend it on fancy holidays and houses. See the myth about making no money, but organisers do care, and this is one of the big things. Like the feedback we get after an event. I've always said, like, we appreciate any feedback we can get on ways to improve, always. But at the end of it all, we know what we've done wrong better than anybody else could ever tell us. Obviously, there'll be some things that we may have missed, which would be great, but the harshest critics of the event will be us ourselves. We'll know what we've done wrong. We'll know what needs improving. And we probably go straight to work working on how to improve it while we're on the boat. And that's one of the things. We do care. We care a lot, because we want this to grow. We want this community to thrive. We want to give this 1 weekend of the year to escape the mundane reality that everybody lives now. You know, you want that escape. We are that escape. And it's not about money for us, because we are fans ourselves. We watch these animes. We're just as giddy when we meet the guests as you are. And us as organisers, we are just super fans who decided to impoverish ourselves for our hobby. And that's one of the things that you should take away from it. If you go to an event and you think, oh, it's all corporate and that, look at who's running it. If it's just like a company, look at the people who run the company, and you know, deep down inside you will find they are fans. Even the bigger companies out there, they will care to some extent. Obviously, there are events out there where obviously it is just a faceless company and they just do take the money, but not all organisers are heartless. Not all organisers are driven by greed and profit. The majority of organisers, especially in the geek events community, they do care about their events and they do care about their attendees. So don't ever think that we're just this faceless organisation. We're not. So that's all. That's just a few of the myths that are around running an anime convention, or just any kind of geek event convention anyway. I hope it's been educational to some degree, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.